Former President Donald Trump has once again been elected as President of the United States of America, with a stunning comeback after he was voted out of the White House 4 years ago. Trump's victory in the swing state of Wisconsin pushed him over the majority line. It was earlier believed that Trump's political career was over after several controversies after the 2020 election, wherein he created a furor over his loss, claiming voter fraud. This included the storming of the U.S. Capitol, with Trump surreptitiously inciting his supporters to indulge in violence over alleged voter fraud, which has since been trashed by the U.S. courts. However, though Trump has been elected by a significant margin, the transfer of power is unlikely to occur smoothly, with Democrats already pursuing legal proceedings against Trump over his conviction in felonies. Trump, who was convicted of 34 felony counts earlier this year, was also convicted of falsifying business records to cover up the payment of $130,000 made to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Some argue that Trump's actions are different because they violate a crucial part of a constitutional amendment. Some courts and election officials also argue Trump's actions before and on the day of the Capitol riot on January 6, 2021 should deem him ineligible for office under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which disqualifies people who engaged in insurrection or rebellion after taking an oath to support the Constitution. So, while Trump may be elected, several challenges are pending in the courts. Moreover, Trump also has to serve sentence for the felonies convictions, even as there are questions whether he can pardon himself. The big unanswered question is whether the president might be able to pardon himself. Jeffrey Crouch, an assistant professor of American politics at American University and an expert on executive clemency, told BS News. No president has ever tried it, so we don't know what the result would be if it was attempted. The framers of the Constitution did not deliberate on a self-pardon exception to the president's pardon power. Brian Kalt, a professor at Michigan Law School, told CBS he believes the founders either thought a self-pardon was untenable or never considered it. They must have thought he couldn't do it, or possibly they just didn't think of it at all. After the Watergate scandal, when President Richard Nixon faced possible prosecution, his lawyers told him they thought he can pardon himself, but whether he should was another question. But at the same time, Department of Justice was working on a memo and which said that he can't. CBS quotes Acting Assistant Attorney General Mary Law, who was the author of the memo, as saying under the fundamental rule that no one may be a judge in his own case, it would seem that the question should be answered in the negative, Lawton concluded. Further, if Trump is sentenced within the next 3 months, the election of an imprisoned president would create a legal crisis that would surely need to be resolved by the courts. New York Times in an earlier report said, in theory, Mr. Trump could be stripped of his authority under the 25th Amendment, which provides a process to transfer authority to the vice president if the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Some argue that Trump pardoning himself, even if it is possible, would be a very bad precedent for U.S. politics. However, Trump seems to have already made up his mind on the issue. If not, he would not have contested the presidential elections in the first place. It is more likely that Trump could sue to be released on the basis that his imprisonment was preventing him from fulfilling his constitutional obligations as president, says The Daily, which again raises more legal and constitutional problems. The next 3 months are going to be the most interesting in the history of U.S. politics, with the courts having to go the extra mile. Thank you for watching this video, and if you haven't already done so, kindly subscribe to this channel for cutting-edge news reports and analysis. Thank you once again.